AskReddit by Literal Reality 1. What's a sign that someone is much smarter than they let on? They never have to tell you. My dad said, if you're good at something, you never have to say it. They're good problem solvers and are always asking questions. In HS, a friend asked in science class, can we make rocks, and he was made fun of for years. It still comes up. Took me a while, but then I thought, can we make rocks, like it's a legit question. I used to know a guy that was very smart, and whenever he said I could be wrong, but, you know, he was 100% positive and 100% correct. Ironic how the people who are adamant that they're correct are usually the ones who are incorrect. The ability to explain complex things in simple terms. They don't seem to care about being perceived as smart. Not embarrassed to admit they don't understand something. I find the more unnecessary jargon someone uses, the more they want to appear smart. It's more indicative of conceit than intelligence. They may be the smartest person in the room or as dumb as rocks. The ability to explain advanced topics in a simple way to where a person who doesn't understand it will get at least a rudimentary comprehension of it. Understanding that there are many things they don't understand, and so won't be shy about asking questions or saying upfront they don't know something. Listening more than they speak. Not being particularly interested in if people think they're smart or not. Those are generally the four most obvious tells. I really value the first quality in a person. I think it's a pretty good marker of intelligence to hit the balance of not showing off everything you know and confusing people, but not patronizing them by dumbing things down to an offensive level either. A quick, sly, witty response to a current point of conversation or action that is in reference to something that you thought went over their head 2 hours ago. Family friend married a man like that. I thought he was a dopey at first, lovable as hell and the sweetest guy, but dopey. Dear God, I was wrong. He might quietly be the smartest person in any room he's in. It takes a genius to know when not to talk and when to roast you live with a single sentence. Don't interrupt an enemy when they're making a mistake. Or something like that. I've seen a guy say the wrong thing on purpose then wink at me cause he knew I knew, then all hell broke loose in our meeting of people debating it. Dude was tired of, this should have been an email, meetings and chose violence. Mad respect. They are very observant, sometimes reserved. And perceptive. Listen to them explain something complex to a child. When you are smart, you can make things easy. The smartest people I know have the simplest way of talking because they know what they are talking about and want everyone to understand. I had a customer in one time with their kid, and their kid asked why a car had such a small rear window, and I simply said because it's in a small door, and the dad just grinned and said great answer. He ran an Air Force base in California. IDKY, but felt kinda cool after. Not smart at all, just the most logical answer possible. They play the part other people think they should. Knew a dude in the military who I thought was legitimately dumb as a rock until I hung out with him and had a conversation. Told me he just played the stupid private part to get out of any bullshit. Yup. Served with that guy too. He was slow. Walked with a weird gait. Would always feverishly shake his head with "oh, yeah, I got it," when you had to explain something twice to him. Could barely pass his PRT. Had to have the sergeant be his roommate because of he guy's fridge was just ice cream. Sarge said he overheard a phone call to his folks using words he'd never heard before. Guy had everyone played this whole time. Basically lower the expectations and nothing is expected of you. The ability to consider another person's point of view. I'm only here so I can replicate these actions. Same every time I open a green flags thread on AskReddit. We learning you woo. I have a friend like this. He's an engineer and is constantly asking questions and then listening intently to the response, researching, and fact-checking even himself. I've heard him actually say that he hates not knowing the correct information about pretty much everything. I've played trivia with the guy and he is a powerhouse. See, I hate not knowing things, and I fact-check myself and do the other things you said about your friend, but it ain't from intelligence, it's from trauma. So I'd say this one varies. Choosing not to argue with someone who's wrong and choosing their own peace of mind over being right. I do that and I'm not sure it makes me smart. Sometimes it's just not worth arguing, especially when you know you're right and the other person will eventually find out anyway. Processing with empathy. That's different from active listening or being sympathetic. Being able to hear someone describe something, understand how they would arrive at that conclusion based on their circumstances and boundary conditions, and then respond to the person who would say those things rather than respond to the thing being said. We often really only see people reveal themselves through demonstrations of knowledge, knowing how lots of pieces of information are interconnected, and acts of expertise, applying abstract knowledge using techniques to produce an intended tangible outcome. And so we become accustomed to using those as the only two ways of gauging intelligence. Empathetic processing is something you don't often have a chance to witness, but demonstrates a level of intelligence beyond either of those things because it shows an understanding of things which cannot be directly controlled for. A person who shows the ability to account for and incorporate ideas beyond their influence is a person who is capable of greater feats than we'd expect based on what we typically look for as a measurement of intelligence. Someone who can understand someone's opposing view without having to agree with it or get angry over it. That's bollocks. Fuck you. They are open to changing opinions in the face of new evidence. They don't quickly judge others' intelligence. They are willing to admit when they are wrong. Understanding you can't possibly know everything and that there are millions of others likely smarter than you more knowledgeable about certain things. I am in my 60s. I noticed that some peers stopped accepting new ideas as they got older. I saw it as lazy, easier to call someone else stupid than to think about their idea and figure out why you were wrong. Very quick wit. Not at all interested in proving how smart they are. My brother is like this. Something will happen, and within 4 seconds he rattles off a really funny joke. It's really entertaining. Playing dumb to avoid annoying people and annoying tasks. I've started to really enjoy that in my middle age. A monocle. What about 2 monocles? They accept every situation. They ask much more than they say. Pure curiosity every day about every situation. They are very good at problem solving. Even if it's something they have no experience with, they always approach the problem from the right angle. Redditors describing themselves. LMAO smart people tend to not have girlfriends and collect UGR cards. They listen more than they talk. I'm just socially anxious and introverted. Do go on though. Not so much for hiding intelligence, but smart people ask better questions. I am lucky enough to have a couple of alarmingly bright friends. I'm just smart enough to know I'm not like them, but what really stands out is they constantly make better decisions with substandard information. The right call, over and over again. You'd think they'd drop the ball regularly like everyone else, but no, it's a complete fucking rarity. They look to the camera and tap their temple a few times. They let all the stupid people speak instead. Knowing when to be quiet, which is more often than you think. They're good at explaining hard concepts. If they say I don't know enough about that to have an opinion. Curiosity. Longer pauses or contemplative, ruminative space in conversation. And most people I come across that are much smarter than they originally let on or got excited or quickly interested in small details or minutiae of whatever topic is at hand. Not just basic top level info, but making sense of some wonky detail is a quick clue. Those and producing clear, lovely metaphors at will. The metaphors. They explain something in a way that makes it seem simple, often with relatable examples, when in fact the thing is rather complex. Double points if they do it off the cuff for something not directly related to what they do for a living. For me, there are two major signs. 1. They're good with their grammar. 2. They understand subtlety and humor. Very intent listeners are aware of what they know versus what they don't, prefer to speak on things on they know, and listen on things they don't. The old saying, if it's stupid and it works, it's not stupid. If somebody does a lot of things that make no sense to you, and it consistently works for them, it's safe to assume they simply understand a lot of stuff that you don't. Strong listeners, they don't butt into conversations when it's unwarranted. My husband is incredibly intelligent. He's a tinkerer, bilingual, but most of all, kind of an asshole lol, and he has a very dry sense of humor. I've noticed a trend in smart people, and that is they always have this weird, dry sense of humor. Maybe they crack a lot of dark jokes. It's their coping mechanism for existing. It's subtle, but when someone completes a task, which seems to be flawless, yet they can only see what they didn't get right. I think this also extends to specialization in any skill. Not just intelligence, but I find this is common with skilled trades workers. When I was in college, someone asked my psychology teacher this question. He said that people who are intelligent aren't always the ones with degrees and success. He said they are actually the witty ones with a sharp sense of humor. He always stressed that IQ tests were meaningless for a large portion of the population. To add on to IQ being meaningless for a lot of people, there are many different types of intelligence that are useful for a variety of things. Sometimes I feel like it can be like that meme of the swim teacher raising one kid up proudly out of the water, society to IQ, and then the kid that's just about drowning being the other types of intelligence. Thankfully though, this does seem to be improving. Quick-witted one-liners. Sometimes they'll make random obscure references to different things or make connections within words of a conversation to create something else, or just use uncommon words in general. It can be a bit difficult to catch unless you are also familiar with said reference or can also see how they came to the word connection. In a nutshell, smart recognizes smart. As other comments have noted, a good amount of smart people aren't always out to prove how smart they actually are, but if you are fairly intelligent yourself, you'll be able to differentiate between genuinely smart people and those that only proclaim they are. Humility. They quietly, but correctly, use a semicolon. Sense of humor. Somewhere along the line I heard, you can tell how smart someone is by what they laugh at. High awareness and attention to minor details. Everyone claims to have this, but most actually don't. Not panicking when issues arise, as they instead go into solve mode. You can tell the gears are turning. They often won't answer with certainty unless they are damn certain. Damn certain is a scientifically approved metric of certainty. In my experience, people who are kind are generally very smart. They won't be trying to convince you they are smart. I have met really intelligent people who will sometimes be genuinely surprised that something they knew was not standard, general knowledge. Vice versa, if anyone ever tries to convince you they are intelligent by referring to their IQ or standardized test score, take everything they say with a couple grains of salt. Cursing. Look it up, motherfuckers, it's true. I had the entire dictionary at my disposal and settled on fucking as the absolutely correct adjective to sufficiently convey the emotion and intensity of the moment.